Welcome to Don't Fear the Weight podcast with your host Vicky Masita, bringing together science and personal experience.
Hi guys, and welcome to episode number 3 of the Don't Fear the Weight podcast. I am your host Vicky Masita, and today I have got an awesome guest with me, another awesome guest. We're full of awesome guests these weeks. This is Dawn Roberts. How are you, Dawn?
I'm very well, thank you, Vicky, and thank you for the invite for joining you today.
Absolute pleasure to have you on. I'm very, very excited about this podcast. Dawn, if nobody knows who you are, why don't you go on and tell us a little bit about yourself and about your background?
Well, I've been around since what feels like the day forever. I'm 51 now, believe it or not. I started training myself when I was 19 and first got on stage when I was 19.
Wow.
Just one of those things that it wasn't peer pressure, but it was quite big in the 80s. And the lady I was training with, who was 33, I thought she had an awesome body. And I remember at 19 saying to this lady, I hope I have a body like you when I'm 33. I think when I actually hit 33 and I sort of heard myself as this 19-year-old saying that, I thought, oh dear, if somebody said that to me, I'd slap them one. Yeah, I certainly realised how this lady must have felt at the time. But yeah, it was great. Back in the 80s, the local competitions, they used to be fabulous. You'd have so much support, because there wouldn't just be one or two from the gym like you get these days. If any, there'd be like a dozen of you competing rather. So you had all their families, everybody from the gym had come along, and the atmospheres was just incredible. I did it for about 5 years, and then I changed jobs, and I just suddenly stopped training.
Oh, right.
Yeah, exactly. I got to a situation where I'd gone from working away 1 mile from home to 17 miles from home. Right. So by the time I'd driven home, had my evening meal, I'd think, oh, I can't be bothered. And it seemed to coincide when a lot of the bodybuilding at the time did seem to like peter off a little bit, sort of like late 80s, early 90s. And then I got a different job, moved in with my boyfriend, and my weight I'm 4'10.5". Now that half is very important.
Absolutely.
Do you know? I know you're not after yourself.
I do. I am 5'1.5". So yeah, I always do include the half.
Not quite that category of being above average there.
No.
But yeah, so I worked away from home and had a really stressful job, and I ended up ballooning up to sort of a size 18.
Right.
I was well over 11 stone, and I was probably verging on the edge of being an alcoholic.
Goodness.
Because living away from home and having all this stress, I was reaching for the bottle of wine every night. And it was only when I went back to my apartment one lunchtime and found myself pouring a glass of wine, I thought, hang on, this has got to stop. So I poured it straight down the sink, and luckily I recognised what I was doing. Got a job back up in the northwest, where I'm originally from, and just had a complete change around with my lifestyle. Used to go to a gym early in the morning because I found myself sort of lazy, that if I let it get too late at night, I'd come home, won't go to the gym. So I thought, if I do it in the morning, I know it's over with, and then I can chill out at night with my husband. And it worked for me. And I hate to say it, but at the time, I used to go to Slimming World. Sorry for swearing. But it helped me get back on track. I lost 3 stone with them, but then couldn't lose any more, because as we know now, they don't teach you portion control or eating the right sort of food. But it at least set me off on the right foot. And then because I realised I was by then I was reaching 39, knocking on 40, I thought, I want to get back on stage again, even though I said I was never ever going to do it.
Yeah. And
I went along to, I used to do the NABBA shows.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I was 19, 20. And I went along to the NABBA UK in Bradford and watched this show, and I was just, my jaw hit the floor when I saw what Lady's figure looked like. Because when I did figure in the 80s, it's probably not too dissimilar to sort of like the toned figure nowadays. And I thought, these girls are obviously not natural. I didn't particularly at that age, and I never had it, even my younger years, taking anything. Didn't want to go that route. It's personal choice, obviously. So I sort of came away a little bit despondent, thinking, well, there's no chance am I going to get up on stage and look like I belong. I then found the BNBF, which, as you know, is a tested federation. So I went along, watched a couple of their shows and thought, yep, I can do this. And it was 2005 I got back up on stage. So the year I was going to turn 40, I was up there.
Brilliant.
My husband didn't believe I'd do it. He thought it was just going to be a one-off. But I came fourth, I think, in the show. So I was a bit disappointed I was at that level, but I thought, hey, I've got up there, I've done it, and I'm nearly 40. These girls on stage with me are only in the 20s, so I've not done too bad. But then the head of the federation, Vicky McCann, came running up. She said, you need to do physique. Your body's too, you've got too much of an X figure for figure. You need to do physique. Still invited to the finals. It's up to you what category you do. So I swapped categories, and I came fourth then in the British finals that year.
Brilliant.
So I carried on then. 2007, came second in the British. Went to Greece with the team, competed in the Natural Olympia, and got third in that for the Masters Ladies. So that was it. That was how I sort of got into the physique of it all. And my husband sort of saying, "What happened to this? It was a one-off." And then 2009 was the best year for me because that's when I won the British title, and got my pro card that year. And it was just a fabulous feeling, sort of being on stage. My husband was actually helping backstage, and I think my current avatar on Facebook is sort of me jumping up and wrapping my legs around his waist on stage and giving him a big hug, saying I did it.
That's inspiring, really inspiring. Absolutely love it. And it's interesting to know that you actually started at 19, 20. Did you get any kind of stigma? I know bodybuilding was big in back in those days and everything, but did you get any stigma that some of the girls get nowadays about becoming quote unquote too bulky as a lady?
I think that was always about, but I would say more people were more negative about me losing the weight to obviously show the muscle definition.
Right.
Because when I compete, because I'm so tiny, even size 6 is too small for me.
Yeah.
In fact, Tesco's age 11 is perfect because even in the trouser length, I don't need to take them up. Yeah, exactly. So people would just say, oh, you've lost enough weight now. And so that would be more the issue for it.
Right.
If anything, I think because I obviously wasn't enhanced, people realised that I wasn't overly muscular, that I looked, I don't want to use the word grotesque, but I know that's what a lot of people think about female bodybuilders, and it's none of their bloody business.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've found that I have a lot of clients these days as well, just general Joe public or Jane public who just want to lose a little bit of weight, and the minute I say to them weightlifting is a great form of exercise and we accompany it with this, that and the other because of the epoch effect and various other bits, the minute they start to see any kind of muscle definition that come through because we've got rid of the external fat, they just kind of go, oh no, I'm getting too bulky. I'm getting too bulky, and then that's it.
Yeah, no, I've had the opposite effect.
Oh.
Yeah, because I would say the majority of my female customers have been sort of in the late 30s, 40s, and I persuade them to do the same, do the weight training, and they're just, oh, I can see a line on my arm now, and things like that. And one lady, she was doing some bicep work the other day, an overhead bicep curl.
Yeah.
And she, what's this line here? I said, that's your bicep. So she was a bit like astounded, but when people are saying to them, oh, you've got such nice round shoulders, when they've got these nice alternate dresses on in the summer, or, they're even with the cleavage, they've not just got the boobs giving them the cleavage, they've got an extra little line coming up to the neck. But, oh, you've got a nice sort of upper body.
Yeah.
Yeah, they realise how good it is. But the most common thing that women say is, I want to tone.
Yeah, I know. It drives you nuts, doesn't it?
Exactly. And when you have to say what toning is, well, you can't tone fat. I'm not going to tone anything by running on the treadmill all day. So you need to lift weights. And then once the fat comes off and that muscle's there. So I say to women, if you don't want your muscles to grow, imagine your body has not got any muscle, right? Now imagine you lose that fat. All you're going to have left is your skeleton, your water and skin. What shape do you think you're going to be? Look at a skeleton, yeah? What gives you your body that definition now? It's the musculature that you've got. And they sort of like, oh, right, yeah, you're right. And it was only just last Friday that I've got a new customer going to start with me next week. She came for a taster session. And she's like, no, I'm adamant, I don't want to do weight training. I don't want to look muscular. So I've got a new battle on my hands. So I'll keep you updated with that one.
Yeah, keep us updated. We might have another podcast on that one. So. Okay, so let's go into a little bit about what you specialise in. So you said that you've got some ladies that come to you, and you work with some other people as well. So you've got like a team of coaches, don't you? Tell us a little bit about that company that you run.
Yeah, what it is, when I've done my diets in the past, I've used coaches myself, and I've done those dreaded diets where very low carbs, 2 hours cardio a day, and just feeling absolutely knackered and really limiting what sort of food you eat. So in 2011 it was, I thought I want to do this. I knew my time was coming where I was getting to the stage where I needed to hang my bikini up, but I just still had unfinished business to do. I didn't want to go on that, fish for your breakfast, dinner, the evening meal, and whatever snacks it might be in between. So I started looking around for a new coach, and Joe Klemzewski was the name that sort of came to mind. I originally looked at Lane Norton.
Yep.
I think most people will probably not listen to the podcast if they're seriously into the weights and things. But when I looked on Lane's site, he was like, I'm very expensive and I only take on limited people and, only come to me if you're serious. And I thought, well, I'm serious. But as well, much as I love the guy and his information, to me, he seemed to get involved in petty arguments on the internet.
Yeah.
Let's not go there.
Yeah.
So, but he recommended himself, Joe Klemzewski, and then a very good friend of mine, Cheryl Myers, who's 5 times world champion with the WNBF. She came up independently with Joe's name. So I thought, well, I'm going to write to this guy and see what he says. So sure enough, he took me under his wing. I worked with Joe for my diet and Corrie, who's the mental health counsellor for the Diet Doc. She did my training. And Joe did my diet, and I just loved it. Joe was originally one of the first guys who came out with the If It Fits Your Macros sort of thing, even though for him it was just flexible dieting. Lane was the one that labelled it IIFYM.
Yeah.
Not quite as bad as the, the Pop-Tart diet, which a lot of people refer to it as. It's
Pop-Tart diet.
Not that at all. And I just loved it, and I felt so relaxed doing it. No guilty feelings about going eating out with my husband and socialising. And I just loved that approach. So I actually became a coach with them. I joined the team, but just mainly looking after the general population customers at the time rather. And that was good. And the approach they take is more of an educational approach. I hate using the word education because it makes me sound like I'm a teacher. But I think if you can enlighten people a little bit more about the diet and what they're eating and what's in food, they become a bit more aware and make themselves make healthier choices. If you imagine learning to drive, you don't just sit there on a table and somebody tells you how to drive a car and then you get in it and drive. You have to go through these lessons and learn about it. And that's the approach we take with people. We delve into the macronutrients and explain, you need protein for this reason. You need carbohydrates, but limit your carbohydrates, but this is the limit that you need. And then the same with the fats. Some people tend to think, I need to diet, so they cut all fat out. You have to, obviously we know that fats are needed for lots of things in the diet as well. So we've developed it now that we also have what we call an online classroom where when people register with the Diet Doc, and before I go on any further, can I just say it's the Diet Doc LLC.
Yeah.
There is a Diet Doc in San Diego where our HQ is, that is the one that offers growth hormone injections. We're not the same one.
Right, okay, yeah, okay. We'll make a very, very distinct thing. We'll put the links on that on the podcast to make sure it's the right one.
So this is Joe Klemzewski of the Diet Doc LLC,
Okay.
And Corrie Probst is the vice president. So altogether as the Diet Doc, there's over 100 coaches now throughout the world, Australia, Canada, the majority in America. And then we've got a few more select of us that actually have now moved into coaching for bodybuilding competitions.
Okay.
I think there's just over 20 of us now. And again, we all support one another. The good thing is with both sides of the programme is we've got a medical doctor on board, because you know how the Americans are, they're very strict with everything there. Because none of us are registered dietitians, and I know it's the same in this country, certainly over in America, you can't be offering nutritional programs unless you have a dietitian on board. So we've got the proper dietetic person, medical doctor. We've got Corrie as the mental health counsellor, and Joe himself has got 2 PhDs in sports science as well as exercise and health and nutrition and everything. So very well qualified, and it's good as being part of that team, because I know if I were to come across a bit of a stumbling block, I've got people there that I can fall back on as well. And Joe's good. He's a great mentor, and it's fabulous to be part of the team.
Fantastic. And what is it, have you got a particular kind of client that you really specialise with, or will you work with anybody, females, males, older, younger, postnatal, prenatal, whatever?
Yeah, I just lost you a little bit there, but I think I got the gist of what you said. Again, I'll work with anybody. I've had, I think my oldest male customer has been 77.
Wow.
I've got a lady with me at the moment who's doing personal training, as well as the diet doc who's 70. And the youngest I've had has been a 19-year-old lad. But the majority of my customers, I would say, are female, tend to be 30 and upwards. But yeah, I'm happy to work with anybody. And I do love it when a woman comes along and she wants to weight train.
Yeah.
And what I put across to them is it's not a case of working on the physique, but it's, to me, being strong gives you more confidence. It's fabulous when the postman comes to the door, or a delivery driver, and he's got a heavy parcel, and he says, "Do you want me to carry it in for you?" "No, I can manage," and you pick it up with one hand and just look at the face. You know, I love that.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, Ace. So let's have a chat then about some of the things that you try and dispel. So say that I'm Jane, I'm mid-30s, post 2 children, and I've been on very, very low-calorie diets for a long time. I'm one of those serial dieters that every coach just kind of goes, "Oh my God," because they've got to start all over again. So I'm really interested in how you actually educate the general population, like you were saying. So even though you say it might sound like a teacher, I suppose in a way, as coaches, we are teachers, and we do have to educate before we just kind of point the finger and say, "Listen, you're overweight, this is what you have to do, and don't question me, just do it." So how would you approach that person in the first steps? Would you just sit them down? I know you're saying you've got an online classroom, but you were saying about the macronutrient split that's ideal for them. So I take it that you individualize everything as well. Exactly, yeah. So take us through some of the steps that you would go, like if they've got any fears maybe of their metabolism being damaged. That's a big thing that's out in the media I've seen recently. Obviously in our industry it's been dispelled, but in the media they keep on going on about this metabolic damage rather than kind of persistent adaptation as we know it.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if somebody's been on a very low-calorie diet for a long time, then you can retard your metabolism as such. But that doesn't mean it's permanently retarded. It's just obviously adapted. So I had one particular lady who was, "I can't eat carbohydrates." That's it. "Oh no, they make me fat." So it's just, you just have to sort of tease and manipulate them to try and experiment and bring something in. I've actually, interestingly, just had a guy today come in for some posing tuition.
Okay.
And he said exactly the same. He was on something 65 grams of carbs, and this isn't a natural guy either.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, exactly. And he was experimenting at weekend, and he's already doing 2 hours cardio a day. He upped his cardio thinking it was what he needed to do, and he actually put weight on. So he said, "My metabolism must be shot at." So I didn't question him. I didn't go against it. And he said, "Anyway, I've put an extra 75 grams of carbs in my diet." He said, "And I've dropped a pound." And I thought, well, he's already answered his own question. What in it is obviously not eating enough. The main situation I think we come across in our industry is, and I've done it myself, you've been on a prolonged diet, you crave all these things, which is why I love doing it with Joe. Because it was this flexible dieting. So if I wanted to eat a piece of cheesecake, I could, as long as I counted it in those macros. Not that he ever did, I'd be had. If Joe's listening to this. But I would realise that if I had that cheesecake, I would still be feeling hungry because I'd obviously not had better quality carbs and what have you. But of course, you get those who do go to the extreme. As soon as the show's finished, the first thing they want is the pizza, and they go straight to 12-inch pizza. Goodness knows how many calories might be in that, depending on what toppings they've had on it, and then they wonder why they put half a stone on overnight. We know it's not that, obviously, after so long, but doing that for a week, I myself have put 2 stone on in a month.
Oh my goodness.
Through totally pigging out after a show. And it's not that my body was, my metabolism was damaged, it's just that I was, what would I be in weight? I'd be about 46 kilos in weight at my height, having done cardio and an hour of weight training every day, to then suddenly just going back to a normal training routine, not doing cardio, and then eating what I was eating before. So I've gone from one stage straight back to the other. I'm going to put that weight on. The way to do it is just to gradually build up. It's like I say, it's tease, and it just manipulate those carbohydrates back in on a gradual basis.
And does that actually How does that pose psychologically then? So like you were speaking about a woman who came to you and said, I can't eat carbs because they're going to make me fat. And again, like just in the media, we've got people like Joe Wicks who's going on demonizing carbs to an extent, but then saying, you know, have some carbs post-workout. But realistically, your carbohydrates are the things that are making you fat. And I've heard so many times, you know, it's the excess sugar and it's the sugar that makes you fat. And that's why we need to get rid of carbohydrates. So you explaining to ladies or anybody, men who come into you, saying that they can't eat carbs because they're going to make us fat, and you actually give them carbs, what does that do to them psychologically? Because you know as well as anybody in our industry as well, bodybuilding can create such horrendous eating disorders and body dysmorphia. And how does it work with the Joe public?
Basically, it's the same. They're frightened of it. You might have somebody from the bodybuilding side that will think, oh, well, great, I can start eating again. But when it comes to Joe Public, they're sort of like, oh, okay then. But when you go and explain, look, it is as simple as calories in and calories out. It's as simple as that. And you show them what the calorific values of the protein and the carbohydrate are. You just say, you know, 'cause you tend to find people might perhaps eat or overeat on protein, or they have too much fat in there to make the calories up. But as soon as you manipulate those macros and change it round, they suddenly start dropping fat. One of my best customers, male customers on the diet, Doc, he'd been doing keto for 20 years. He was still overweight. Yeah, type 2 diabetic, on medication for it, and was overweight. But he was eating something ludicrous like 400 grams of protein a day.
Oh my God.
Exactly. And I said to him, do you realise you could easily sort of not quite halve that and put the other portion into your carbohydrates? And he looked at me and said, well, go on then, let's give it a try. So we brought his protein down into the 200s. It's quite a big guy, so obviously not going too low. And we put, I think, 200 grams of carbs in there because I didn't want to scare him off going too much. And the weight just rolled off him. And again, he lost 3.5 stone in weight, came off his medication. He's now no longer classed as diabetic.
Oh, wow.
And he's as fit as a fiddle. And this guy's in his 50s. He's a martial arts instructor. And when I went to see him, he was one of these guys that would sit in front of you and you would be sweating just through talking to you. And when I went to see him on a catch-up one day, he said, look at me and look what I can do. And he got down on the floor and started doing press-ups, but not just press-ups. He was walking alongside and clapping his hands on mid-press-up. And I was just like, wow.
Blown away.
Exactly. In fact, he only came to see me last week just to, you know, we kept in touch. And he lifted his top up and said, look at this. And he's got a six-pack. Like,
really? Yes. That's incredible.
He's been with me for 6 months now. So, you know, it can work.
Yeah.
It's just, like you say, it's just that. And it took him a lot to adjust. But he sort of said, I'm paying you for this. I've got the faith in you. I'm going to trust you. And that's what people have got to believe.
That's it, isn't it? It's about building that client-coach relationship right from the get-go. Even though it can be really, really scary, you've just got to kind of instill that trust in those people, don't you? Now, obviously, as you know, that I'm a female coach in the industry and a female bodybuilder as well, just like you are. I don't know if you find the same thing, but I've always found it really difficult to get men to come and train with myself, being a female and being a small female as well, because that's another thing that we've got in common. We're a small female. So a lot of the clients that I get, I attract ladies who have had children in the past because I've been there, I've done it, I've got the t-shirt, but I am not a 6 foot tall muscle bound man, and that's the reason why they're just kind of they'd prefer to go with one of the other coaches in the gym that I work for because they're a man and because they're big. How do you get over that particular stigma with working with men who are wanting to, like, just say physique athletes, for example, if they come to you?
I'm probably in the same boat, to be honest. I would say the majority of people who come to me are women. I was approached by somebody last year who had a coach going into the regional qualifier. He'd asked me some advice about his posing online, because I think men will come to women for the posing, thinking we can be a bit more theatrical. Yeah. And then he just said, and I don't know, we just built up a good relationship online, me and this guy. So he just said, I'd like you to coach me into the... I coached him after the British finals. He was with his coach up to them. He said, I want you to coach me now to the world finals. So I did a total different approach with this guy. It was probably harder than half the females I've even coached, to be honest.
Yeah.
he eventually would listen to me, and he took on my advice, and a total different approach going into competition, and his condition was even more phenomenal than it had been to win the British title.
Yeah.
So that was really good. And it was good for me that I had somebody at his level that took me into his confidence to do it. This guy who I said who's been today for pausing, again, it's another couple of guys from I would say the hardcore gym that we have in town here that have said, go and see Dawn, she can help you. And I'm just talking to him in general about diet as well. And you can almost see he's sort of like he's gaining confidence in telling him. And he said, I've learned more off you now in 2 hours than I've learned from like 2 guys who've won millions of trophies. And but a trophy doesn't mean that somebody can be a good coach.
Yeah.
Got that relationship with somebody. So yeah, I would like to get more male customers. And my husband actually was probably one of the worst ones. He competed in 2012, and he would ask me a question and I'd answer it, but then I'd find him going asking his pro bodybuilder friend the same question, who would give him the same answer. And I'd just stand there with my hands on my hips and said, see, I told you. But my husband, you've met him, is a pretty big guy, and we can be training out in a gym together, and people will be asking him the questions. They don't come to me. And then they might ask him on Twitter or Facebook, what do I do with my diet on this? And he sits there asking me, hang on, don't be answering it. Say, speak to my wife, she's the expert.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it is sometimes a little bit daunting, isn't it, being a female in this industry, and especially when you're backstage on, getting ready to get on stage, and thankfully at the BNBF we're all segregated with our classes, aren't we? But then you walk past all the guys and they're pumping up backstage, and they just kind of look at you and then don't do anything because they're concentrating on everything, whereas us girls, we're kind of all pink and fluffy backstage, aren't we? And we help each other out. And I think that's the thing. I think men just seem to think that women are very pink and fluffy and that we can't deal with big grunting muscle bound men, I suppose. And even the Joe public who wants to lose weight, they don't have a lot of faith in a female coach. And I was even told just today that I kind of alienate myself a little bit because I am a female and I'm a bodybuilder, because I'm not the big sparkly one. I'm like you. I'm actually athletic in the athletic class for BNBF, not the physique, because I just unfortunately I just don't have the size just yet. But I'm getting there. I'll slowly but surely I'll get there. But apparently I alienate myself because I am a female and I am a bodybuilder, and it does put a lot of ladies off. Because of building that muscle. And that's the reason why I asked you about whether or not you had the stigma back in the day, in the 80s, about being a woman and putting on muscle. Do you still find that?
Yeah, to some extent, but I would say now, these girls that are coming up into this bikini class, I think much as it's not my favourite class, I'd like to think it's enhancing the image of weight training for women. That there are more women now that seem to want to weight train in that respect, but it's maybe hitting the older woman who's still got this stigma that, the female bodybuilders are rather large. It doesn't help that the media is the ones that portray this, because people are only interested in extremes. So they tend to have maybe an enhanced woman on TV rather than showing what the natural physique can look like. And there's nothing to me more powerful than a female who's naturally grown in muscle and has just got that beautiful physique with it. And one of the women that I use a lot as an example, and as a non-bodybuilder just to get it across, is Jessica Ennis.
Yeah, definitely.
That lady has got, and there's a beautiful picture of her being presented a trophy by Princess Kate, Kate Middleton, or whatever her surname is now. And I think Jessica has got a red lycra dress on, and Kate's got a green long flowing dress on, and they're both stood sideways on. And on Jessica, you can see where her glutes stick out, and she's got this beautiful shape, where Kate's just like straight up and down. It's like supermodels. They've no shape to them. They've just got these long legs. Now, granted, some people like that look, they prefer that look, but to me, you can't get away from how much more empowering an athletic body can be.
So, and I really really like that because, like you were saying, the bikini athletes, even though people do see them as non-bodybuilders, bikini athletes now, they're really getting into powerlifting, aren't they? And I've seen a lot of them lift really heavy deadlifts and really heavy squats and snatches and overheads and things like that, and yet they've still got this amazing, good pair of shoulders, this tiny waist, and then a good pair of glutes that stick out. And I think, let's just talk a little bit about the importance of weightlifting for a woman then, because there's lots of things that I know about it. Obviously, I know you know a lot more, especially with working with the guys over at Diet Doc as well. So what would you advise that's going to be the best benefits of weightlifting for ladies?
Well, the first one I've already mentioned, is confidence.
Yeah.
Feeling strong, to me, makes me feel more confident. Even if I'm walking down the street on my own and I feel like if somebody was to grab my handbag, I could grab it back off them. Just even down to something as stupid as that. But obviously we've got all the health benefits with relating to osteoporosis and things like that. The main thing I say, because of the age of the majority of women I get, is look, as we age, we lose our muscle. So as much as you can build up now, you're going to age more slowly. And that seems to be the one that sort of like triggers women to then want to weight train when they realise that. But to me, the most important thing is that confidence.
Yeah, definitely. It's very good, isn't it, for women? I would also say that a major part about weightlifting is, like you were saying, as we get older, sarcopenia starts to set in, and that is the atrophy of muscle, because muscle tissue is very expensive, isn't it, to obviously keep onto our frame, and if we don't use it, we lose it, which is the reason why you see these quote unquote, again, little old ladies who are walking around and breaking their hips because, again, once we hit a certain age, we hit menopause, and then from that our bone density decreases. But weightlifting is shown to actually improve the density of our bones and keep them strong and keep them healthy. So along with the confidence, there's a huge aspect of bone health that we need to consider as women.
Yeah, your physiological reasons, we can't get away from those as well. And, the lady I've got with me at the moment that's 70, she's got 2 dogs and she goes walking with these dogs every day. So we work a lot on sort of the mobility and flexibility. And I've even got her weight training and she loves it. Because for her, dogs, if they pull on the lead, she feels stronger, she's more in control of them. And she likes it, it's fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we are going to come up on time in a little bit, Dawn. I know you're very busy, so I don't want to obviously take up too much of your time. But if there was one thing that you know now that you wish you would have known when you were 19, first stepping on stage and really getting into weight training, what would that be?
Why am I doing this? Yeah, that's the one thing I would say to anybody stepping on stage for the first time is ask yourself why you're really doing it. I didn't have a weight problem until I dieted, basically. I always used to consider I was overweight as a kid, but when I look back, I just hung around with girls who were a lot slimmer than me. It wasn't necessarily that I was overweight. Probably didn't help that my nickname at school was Short, Fat and Hairy.
Oh, God.
The short I used to understand because I was short and I had really short cut hair, as I still do.
Yeah.
The hairy, I thought, how does he know I've got pubes? Like at 11 years old.
Yeah.
Fat, just totally, I thought, am I really fat? And it gave me a complex. And that stuck with me throughout my school years. So when I got into sort of the weight training and started to diet, it was after I came out of that first competition that then my weight seemed to fluctuate a lot badly out of competition. So I would say to me, my perfect physique is what I look like on stage, but as we know, that is not attainable all year round.
No.
So the reason I'm saying ask yourself why you're really doing it. If you're doing it for your own self-esteem, don't bother, because it is such a confidence kick up the backside when you're not in that condition, and it's horrible. Especially if you're somebody who suffers from not necessarily body dysmorphia, but if you addictive behaviour and eating disorders, you can just get yourself into such a tangle. So if you're doing it for health reasons and just to keep yourself looking good all year round, you don't want that stage physique, then go for it.
Yeah. And just get in the gym and smash some weights and that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, go for them PBs and live strong.
That's it, isn't it? And your older clients that you've got there, just because I'm interested in it for my personal take home, we always talk about being intense in the gym, and the intensity's got to be there because otherwise, you know, you're not going to change your body. Do you always kind of push the intensity with your older client, or do you keep them at a certain level to make sure that they're not going past what they can't do as such?
Yeah, I think you do have to be a little bit more careful with the older person. And again, you assess them individually because everybody is different. And if it's somebody who's never exercised before in their life, you're obviously not going to have them deadlifting on day one.
No.
You know, but I do a lot of things. We have slam balls and kettlebells and things like that. And one particular lady absolutely loves a slam ball because she imagines her husband's sort of face on the ex-husband, I should say. She imagines his face on the floor and sort of like slams this ball down. So there's other exercises you can do with them. They don't realise that you're doing some form of resistance training. You know, and sort of that works. Well, what else have I got? Medicine balls as well. You know, you can get them doing things with that. Yeah. So there's different ways you can manipulate it. And as I say, I take everybody as an individual.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the way it should be as well, because at the end of the day, it's personal training, isn't it?
Of course it is.
And that's what we do about personal training. We make things personal to the individual rather than actually giving them a cookie cutter worksheet or a cookie cutter diet plan without cookies on it. You know, fish and greens, fish and greens. Okay, excellent. Well, Dawn, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Do you want to tell us where we can find more of you? Have you got some links or websites and things that I can include at the bottom of this podcast?
I have a website which is www.dawnlroberts.co.uk.
Don't forget the L. It's really important.
Don't forget the L, as we...
As we've noticed, I tried to get in touch with Dawn a few times and then I kept on missing out the L and it was like, oh, right, okay. So I've learnt from my mistakes anyway. Okay, fab. So what I'll do then, guys, that's it from myself and Dawn here today on this episode of Don't Fear the Weight. I'll put all of Dawn's details and information regarding the Diet Doc at the bottom of this podcast. And if you guys have got any questions for me or Dawn, please feel free to put them in the comments section at the bottom, and then I'm sure we'll be more than happy to get back to you on them. Okay, so thanks ever so much, Dawn, for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today, and I'm sure I'll catch up with you very soon.